if Mr. Scheer wins more seats than Mr. Trudeau, will you go and ask Mr. Trudeau to cobble up a coalition with you or whoever else might be a partner, the Greens, the Bloc? Like, if the Conservatives win more seats, will you still try to form a coalition government with the Liberals?
Oh, absolutely, because we're not going to support a Conservative government. We're going to fight a Conservative government. We're going to fight it all the way. So we're ready to do whatever it takes. I don't know what's going to happen, so that's a hypothetical situation, but I can answer it in a direct way. In any scenario that happens, whatever Canadians choose, I'm going to make sure Canadians get the best deal. I'm going to make sure we fight hard for the things that are our priorities. I'm going to make sure we deliver those things. And I've made it really clear I'm going to fight Conservatives because they cut and make services worse for people. And with more New Democrats, you're going to be assured that we change things. You're going to be assured that things don't have to stay the same way. You're going to be assured that we move forward in a brighter way.
So there you have it, folks. Jagmeet Singh has restated his commitment to do whatever it takes to stop Andrew Scheer from becoming Prime Minister. Now, before the election, he made this announcement saying no matter what, the NDP would not back a Conservative minority government. Other parties were much less clear about this, but Singh was crystal clear. No cooperation with Andrew Scheer to make him Prime Minister, even in exchange for things that the NDP supports. Now, some people said this was a bad bargaining chip move back before the election, but it was a clear signal to the millions of Canadians that don't want to see a Scheer government. You can trust that your vote in Singh will not be parlayed into a minority Scheer arrangement. And given what's happened in the election, a minority government looks all the more likely. As I've noted, the NDP's rise has not come at the expense of one party, but both of the major parties. They've both declined in support. Frank Graves from ECOS just a few minutes ago actually notified people that the NDP might be rising in Ontario primarily at the expense of Andrew Scheer and the Conservatives. So what's happened is that a minority government has become much more likely with the NDP rising, the Bloc in Quebec rising as well, but also the Liberals and Tories both falling below 33% in some of the aggregators and in some polls. That's rather historical, and it makes it so that neither of those parties will be able to reach 170 on their own, 170 seats, the magic number for a majority government. And so there's going to need to be some kind of cooperation in this House of Commons. Whether it's a formal coalition where multiple parties get together and they build a cabinet and they run the country, or whether it's a more traditional supply and confidence deal where one party governs, but a smaller party or smaller parties, wrest concessions and wrest policies from them in exchange for their support in the House of Commons. So, for instance, this is how we got Medicare in large part, was that, Tommy Douglas in the 1960s held the balance of power over a, Lester Pearson Liberal government, and one of the things that was won was Medicare, right? And that's just one example among many. And so that scenario is much more likely. So it raises a question, and Singh was asked this today. What happens if Scheer wins the most seats, but not enough for a majority? What would you do? Would you form a coalition with Justin Trudeau to stop Scheer? And Singh said yes. Now the question was framed as, what if, Scheer first, Trudeau second, and then you're down the list somewhere, would you work with the second place Trudeau Liberals? But this also applies if Singh ends up finishing second. And I think that's important to know. This election's not over. Singh could still win this thing given how fast the NDP is rising in the polls. But the point of the question was, let's say the NDP and Liberals finish second and third, and Scheer wins the election, quote unquote, by getting the most seats. But that doesn't give him the automatic right to govern if he doesn't have a majority. And so Singh has said, I would work with Trudeau and maybe other parties as well to form an anti-Scheer coalition, because we don't support the values of the Conservative Party. And while the NDP has many disagreements with the Liberals, they do find some areas they can work on. When you combine this with the fact that the NDP rise is coming from multiple parties, and when you combine it with the fact that a minority government looks increasingly likely, with majorities being very, very unlikely right now, and you have Jagmeet Singh making a commitment to stop Scheer at all costs, this is a big blow to the anything but conservative liberal mantra, who use that ABC narrative to just elect liberals. But what the actual data shows is that you don't need to do that this time. Justin Trudeau is losing his majority. He never deserved a majority because of our broken system. But Justin Trudeau is losing his majority. Andrew Scheer has no chance of getting one. And Jagmeet Singh is going to hold the balance of power potentially in this next parliament. And so the Liberals really can't make the case that a vote for the NDP is a vote for the Conservatives. That's a wrong argument in any scenario. That's a very cynical, inaccurate argument. But even under their own parameters, that argument doesn't work this time. A vote for the NDP is really a vote as an alternative to both Scheer and Trudeau, to the Liberals and Conservatives. And that's crucial. And this puts Justin Trudeau in a very, very interesting spot. Justin Trudeau's entire campaign has been primarily dedicated to an anti-Scheer, anti-Ford, anti-Kenney argument. It's been much, much, much less about what the Liberals will actually do. It's not absent, but it's obscured, and much more about how they are not the Conservatives. That's the Liberal campaign. And as Jagmeet Singh has risen, they're shifting a little bit towards, we're not the Conservatives, but the NDP will elect Conservatives, so vote for us to stop the NDP rise and the Conservatives. But if Justin Trudeau really is the anti-conservative paragon, the man who will save us from, Andrew Scheer, and who will stop the national damage that's being done by Ford and Kenney, then he would be willing to work with the NDP and building a coalition, either a formal coalition or a supply and confidence arrangement. But we don't know if he will. This is a real question that I don't know the answer to yet. On the one hand, Justin Trudeau is a center-right neoliberal, and his Liberal Party is a center-right neoliberal party. They don't want to support the ambitious NDP policies like a wealth tax. They don't want to support truly national pharmacare. They don't want to support dental care. They don't want to support, a bold Green New Deal. They don't have the same desire to work with Indigenous peoples for meaningful reconciliation. They don't support these things. And so I think there's a fear from Liberals that, my goodness, if we work with the NDP, we'll actually have to be a center-left party and not just pretend to be one. But the issue is also that NDP policies are very popular with Liberals. The actual on-the-ground voting for Liberals Canadians support many and most of the things that the NDP is running on. Sometimes to the same degree, sometimes slightly less, but there's a broad agreement on things like the wealth tax. If you ask average Liberals what they support NDP-style policies. So if Justin Trudeau is in a situation where he finishes second behind Scheer, and he has the opportunity to form a coalition with Jagmeet Singh to not only stop Scheer, but to implement real, genuine center-left policies that his people support, is he going to do it? And I don't know if he will. Justin Trudeau might be willing to let Andrew Scheer govern before sharing power with the NDP, because he doesn't want to legitimize Jagmeet Singh. He doesn't want to let people understand that NDP policies are good policies and pragmatic policies. He doesn't want people to know how popular dental care and pharmacare is going to be. He doesn't want people to know just how effective a wealth tax might be. He doesn't want people to know that. So Canadians have to ask themselves. Right now, Jagmeet Singh is rising in the polls, and he's rising fast. The Liberals and Conservatives are declining. But if you want a party leader who is 100%, no matter what, no matter when, no matter where, dedicated to stopping Andrew Scheer, you have that in Jagmeet Singh, but you don't have that in Justin Trudeau. At least not yet. Justin Trudeau has not made the same commitment to work with other parties to stop Scheer in a minority situation. So the only solution, the only logical conclusion, is to continue bringing support to Jagmeet Singh, to make him the largest party in a minority situation so that he can drive the terms and conditions of an anti-Scheer coalition. Canada needs that coalition, but I don't know if the Liberals would be willing to engage in it. So we have to continue to work hard to raise support for the NDP, to continue this trend upwards, to make Jagmeet Singh a more powerful player in the following parliament. I'm not conceding anything. Singh isn't conceding anything. Singh can still win this election 100%. But what he is saying is, whether I'm the biggest party or I'm one of the smallest parties, in a minority situation, I would build a stable group of progressive MPs to stop Andrew Scheer. Will other parties join me? Now, Liberals, I would encourage you to come over and support the NDP. But at the very least, if you're a diehard Liberal, I get it. People are partisans. I'm a partisan. What you should do at the very least, however, is go to your MP, go to your candidate, go to the Prime Minister, go to the Liberal Party on social media, and demand that they commit, along with Jagmeet Singh, to a progressive anti-Scheer scenario in the event of a minority parliament, and that they would agree to work with the NDP to implement progressive policies that Liberal and NDP grassroots people support, and that would be the bulwark of an anti-Scheer Canada. And if your Liberal MP, if your Liberal candidate, if Justin Trudeau and his party won't commit to those things, rest assured that they're not actually anti-conservative. They're using that as an excuse to get your vote. And let them know that you're going with Jagmeet Singh because he's the one that actually wants to stop Andrew Scheer and the damage that he could do to this country.